So today's session is about ISO 42001, which is the AIMS or Artificial Intelligence Management System, also known as Machine Learning Management System. And I think this is a very good opportunities for people who are into information security, because soon we will have a lot of demand related to this specific ISO. And there is a lot of similarity between ISO 27001 and ISO 42000. So whoever will take the initiative, understanding, learning the implementation, getting certified as a lead implementer, I think he will get a very good opportunity to find something suitable or something decent in the upcoming days. Let me share my screen and let me explain more about this ISO. This will not be a long session. I think it will be around 30 minutes. And during the session, we will talk in depth, or we will talk more clearly about ISO 42001. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Mohammed Atif. I'm the founder of InfoSec for TC and Desired AI. And the main purpose of the session is to explain what is the ISO 42001, which is an artificial intelligence management system. We're going to talk about an overview. We're going to talk about the applicability, who is applicable to implement this ISO. We're going to talk about the details of the standard, how many controls, how many domains, and we're going to talk about the implementation approach or roadmap. So who should attend this session? The session will be useful to whom exactly? Okay. This is useful, or this session will be very informative for people who are into information security, because definitely they will have to understand how to implement the proper security control on AI models. This will be important for people who already are ISO 27001 certified as a lead implementer or lead auditor, or even plan to get the ISO 27001, because this is very similar to the 27001. This is informative for organization, because regardless what size is your organization, if you are a government or if you are a private sector or if you are a startup, definitely you have some people who are using the AI in your organization. Maybe only ChatGPT, maybe you have an AI model, maybe Gemini. So you cannot say that I'm not implementing AI right now, so maybe later on, if I'm going to implement AI in my business function, I may use the standard. It's not working like that. Even if you have people using ChatGPT, you're going to need to understand what is the limitation of using this AI model and what could go wrong because of that. So as an individual or as a business, I think this should be very informative for you. So first of all, second. Yeah. What is ISO? IEC 42001. Actually, this is an international standard similar to all other ISO. It's a global standard, and it mainly focuses about artificial intelligence governance. So it's an AI governance framework that control or that focus on how to manage the AI inside your organization, so it will not have any kind of risk, or it will not present any kind of threat to your organization. That's why we usually called the 42001 the AIMS. We usually, actually, the ISO 27001 is associated with ISMS. So if you want to get your organization certified as an ISO 27001, you need to implement an ISMS or an information security management system. While if you want to implement 42001, you need to implement AIMS, Artificial Intelligence Management System. The good thing about this control is that it can integrate with any other management system. So if you are already ISO 27001 certified, it's going to be quite easy to migrate this ISO to the ISO 42000 because there are going to be a lot of similarity as we're going to see in this presentation. So what is the structure of this ISO 42001? Actually, we have 10 clauses and we have 6 domains with 6 domains with 47 controls. So it's not complicated. It's mainly similar to the ISO 27001, depend on Annex SL as well. And the number of control is not that actually that deep. And don't forget, this is a governance AI. It's not a technical, it's a governance AI. So it's going to be about risk assessment. It's going to be about role and responsibility. We're going to talk about the different component of the ISO. Who need to implement the ISO 42001? Actually, different kind of organization. Because I noticed that some people think about 42001 that this is only for entity who already have their AI models, or maybe they do have AI solution in place, but this is not the case. Big organization who implement or deploy AI in their organization will need to have this kind of governance because you don't know how things could go wrong. Now we are using AI to generate code. We are using AI to analyzing the business. So you don't know what you are sharing or what your employee are sharing and what is the consequences of that. So big organization who have their own AI model may need to have that. But in the same time, startup who are using the generative AI's models or are using maybe ChatGPT or AI Studio or Gemini, they also need to have ISO implemented because it's not about which AI model you are using, it's how you are using it. Healthcare, finance, sectors, oil and gas. So any organization who implements the AI in their business in any level, this will be very useful for them to have some kind of governance for this AI model. So to keep things simple, for people who learn or for people who are already ISO 27001 certified as a lead implementer or lead auditor, or even if they have some experience implementing the ISMS, what is the similarity between the 42000 and between the 27001? Both of them is based on an Annex SL. So you have an annex with all the control where you have to implement them inside your organization. Both of them, and this is the main factor, emphasize on the risk-based approach. So it's all about identifying what is the risk associated of implementing AI in my organization. Both of them is about to identify the role and responsibility. In ISO 27001, we have the RACI matrix or the role and responsibility. Same go for the ISO 42001. Also, we have stakeholders that need to be identified in both standards. Also, I would like to highlight here on the involvement of the third-party security management. This is one of the core common requirement between the ISO 27001 and the ISO 42001. And the good thing about the 42001, as I mentioned earlier, it supports the integration with any other management system. So let's say that your company already have 27001 and they want to apply for the 42001. There is a lot of document that fulfills the requirement. What is the difference between the 27,001 and 40,007 and 42,001? The ISO 27001 focus on the information asset. The 42,001 focus on the different kind of asset, which is, it could be a LLM, the AI model. So it's still an asset, but a different kind of asset. The 42,001 focus more about people. There is a big portion related to the people commitment. That's why it's very important to identify the role and responsibility. It's very important to conduct awareness inside the organization. So it's not heavily focused on technical control. It focuses more on the human inside the organization. Okay. You need to know more about the AI threats. So the threats related to the information security may be different than the threats related to the AI model. That's why usually when we teach the 42,001 lead implementer, we try to explain some main definitions about AI just to understand what is the associated threats, and accordingly you can figure out what is the associated risk. In the end of the session, I will show you a document that include all the deliverable of 42,001. 42,000, and I don't think this is the difference between the 42,000 and 27,000. The accountability, who is responsible, because this is also in the 27,001. So it's not that far. I mean, if you are comfortable with the 27,001, if you know how to implement the ISMS, implementing the AIMS or the 42,001 will not be that hard. All you need to know is the main definitions about the 42,000 and or about the AI. So you're going to need to know exactly the different type of AIs. What is the machine learning? What is deep learning? What is the LLM? Once you get to know about the AI models and the different definitions related and how exactly they are working, you will get to know what will be the threats and what will be the risk. How we usually implement the AIMS or the ISO 42001, very, very similar to the 27001. First of all, you're going to need to have a scope for your project. You need to have a scope document explaining what is your scope of the implementation. Then you're going to need to conduct a gap assessment. So you will have a list of controls and you're going to start check what is fully comply or partially comply or non-comply. We also have a statement of applicability. Some of control may not be applicable based on the organization. Then we conduct a risk assessment and we have a risk register showing the risk and showing the risk level. What is considered high risk, what is considered critical, medium, low, and so on. And then we start implementing the controls based on those risks. And then we conduct awareness to the organization so people can understand what is the limit of utilizing the AI model inside the organization. And once we finish the awareness, we set up a monitoring or effectiveness or KPI framework to be able to measure the effectiveness of the security control. And then we get the organization ready for the ISO external audit. So this is briefly about the ISO. Now, to make things more clear for you guys, let me just show you a deliverable for the ISO. Usually, it's much easier to understand the project output if we get to see the deliverable. So, for example, if I have the deliverable for, and I already have the document, I'm not sure where is it. Yeah, no problem. But This is what you should end up having to be able to get yourself or get your organization ready to be ISO 42000 certified. You're going to need to have a stakeholder register. Of course, you need to have a project charter explaining the project, the start date, the end date, who is responsible. You're going to need to have a stakeholder register. This is very important for the operational part of the project, who is approving what. Then, as I mentioned, you need to conduct a gap assessment. So the gap assessment will include all the controls. And then you do that usually at the beginning of the project just to understand what is missing, how long the project will take, what is the resources. And then the risk register. You need to conduct a risk assessment and end up having a risk register for the organization. You need to have actually, I was confused. We need to have the scope document before the risk register. So what is the scope of the project? And the AI policies and procedures, this is also a part of the deliverable. So you need to have a set of policy and procedures. If your organization is already ISO 27001 certified, so you can add the AI policy and procedures. Okay. The framework, I don't know if I need to zoom in a little bit, or we have something similar to the asset inventory in the AI, which is the AI inventory and the life cycle. So all the AI that is used in the organization and the life cycle need to be documented. Then we have the risk treatment plan, and same concept applies. So you're gonna have to conduct a risk assessment and end up with a risk register with all the risk AI risk categorized according to their criticality, and then the organization need to provide either a treatment plan or a risk acceptance. So it's the same approach that we do in 27001 will be implemented inside the ISO 42000. The document, the 10th document is the role and responsibility. Who is responsible for what in the organization, or the RASI document as we usually call them. And then I believe this is extremely important, which is the awareness part, the awareness content, the awareness policy, the awareness effectiveness measurement. Also, as part of the framework, the incident management policy and the incident register need to be documented. So you need to have an incident management policy for AI. If you are already 27001 certified, so this needs to be included with your current incident management policy. So this is briefly about the 42001. I feel that this is a very good opportunity for people who are into the cybersecurity right now or information security, because you have to align with the AI, you have to align with the new technology and the risk associated to that. And there wasn't any global standard that controls the utilization of the AI. So don't start considering switching from cybersecurity to AI, because this is not an easy process. But what you need to do, and it's already having a very big demand in the market, is just to understand how to implement the proper security control in any organization who decide to use the AI. So this is very, very important to consider. There was a standard called, actually there was a document published by NIST about the AI standard security or best practice, but I think this specific ISO 42001, it's gonna be a booming in the upcoming months, because everyone is moving to AI. So people will start focusing, how can we get some kind of accreditation that we are using the AI in the proper way. Other document will be the management committed commitment. So usually we let the management sign the policy and sign the risk, the commitment of the management or the management review with the corrective action or the CAPA report, corrective and preventive action, the continuous improvement document, and finally the certification readiness. We usually conduct an internal audit before the external audit just to keep the organization safe. We already prepared a 42001 toolkit that include all those documents with a step-by-step guide on how to use all of them. So, to summarize, let me get back. That this is a very important and very critical standard that we need to keep in mind right now. And it's a good opportunity to be honest. The sooner you start in this field, the better, because consider when we start using or implementing 27001, it was a long time back. But whoever start by getting the experience, whoever start by understanding the standard, by knowing how it got implemented, those are the people who got the good opportunities. Once your name is associated with some kind of skill, especially in ISO, this will be a very good advantage. So what I suggest for you guys is to read about it, get yourself ready, get certified as a lead implementer. This is a very good opportunity because sooner or later, there's going to be a big demand. And keep in mind, it's very relevant to the 27001. So this is everything I wanted to cover regarding the 42001. I will share some of the resources later on the platform, but feel free, if you have any question, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Okay, thank you so much for attending the session, and I hope it was informative. And we will share more resources related to 42000, documentation, step-by-step guide, but you have to take the first step from your side. Thank you so much and wish you all the best.